Hello everyone, it's Jodi. Welcome to episode 17 of Tuesday Tips. Today we're going to talk about coloring on crumb cake. So I've got some images stamped on some crumb cake cardstock as well as on our thick basic white. So what I want to do is just kind of a little experiment and compare what the watercoloring or I've got blends, I've got ink pads, I've got watercolor pencils, a few of the ways you can use Stampin' Up! Products to color, but we're going to do a comparison, what it looks like on white versus what it looks like on crumb cake. So the gorgeous image that you're seeing is from the stamp set Calming Camellia, and it's this big one here. There are some great greetings in this one. Best thing about this set is that you can get it free. So just really quickly, this is the last week for our celebration promotion, and again, as a review, how that works is when you place a $50 minimum order, you get to choose products out of here for free. But when your order is $300, and whether that's you as an individual, which you would get so much free with a $300 order, whether it's you individually or whether it's you gathering orders from a couple of people, whatever works, when it gets to that $300, you're going to get this stamp set as a free bonus. In addition to the other celebration sets you get to choose and Stampin' Rewards. So that's what this is from, this image. Obviously, you can use it on other images that you may already have as well. So let's do this. I'm going to keep one of each color right here in front of us. And I think we'll start with some Stampin' Blends. So I just chose a few. I've got Daffodil Delight, I've got Old Olive, and I've got Rich Razzleberry. So we'll start with these. I'm not necessarily going to color every last detail, but I just want to do that side-by-side comparison. Okay, so let's start with some Stampin' Blends on the leaves. So I'm just going to color right over where I see leaves. These are obviously stamped with black ink. I use the Memento Black. Let's see. Let me do some here. Right here. All right, I think that's about, oops, I'm gonna go right ahead and do it on the crumb cake as well. I find it interesting because I would say the majority of the time, don't we just usually stamp on basic white or very vanilla? Like that's our go-to. But we can, oh my, I'm not staying in the lines very carefully, am I? We definitely can go to other neutral colors like crumb cake or Sahara Sand, or even some of the lighter, like maybe Pale Papaya, or just some other colors that aren't just those neutral vanilla. Let me do it darker. Vanilla and white. Oh my, I've got some, that's too dark. Well, I started it now, right? That's super dark. I did not mean to go that dark, but live and learn, right? I just like the way it pops off of this crumb cake. I'm gonna see if I can go back in with the light one here and kind of blend that out to the edges a little bit. Like I said, I'm not gonna do like exact start to finish on any of these because it's more of that experiment and just the side-by-side comparison. And then I'm going to pop the center with some daffodil. Okay, so this is what we've got so far with Stampin' Blends. Now, I like both of them. It's definitely a different look, but again, just showing the possibility of thinking just a little bit outside the box with the crumb cake. Okay, so let's set that aside for a moment and go to our next method of coloring. I'm going to grab one of each again And this time I'm going to use ink pads. So I've got those same colors, and I'm going to take the ink pad. So I guess a bonus little Tuesday tip is learning maybe some different ways to do some coloring. So I'm squeezing, just squeezing that ink pad. And what it does is kind of makes a mess on the lid, which is exactly what I wanted. And now I'm going to take our water painter and give it a little squeeze and get some, come on, water. It's coming, it's coming. There we go. So I'm going to pick up some of that old olive from the lid and do the same thing, highlighting the leaves. And it's going to look different, not only because it's a different medium, because it's actually ink and watercoloring, but because of these two different colored cardstocks as well. So let's see what watercolor looks like on Crumb Cake. It's actually showing up a little bit more than I even anticipated. Get a little more water there. And again, there's variables here because it would totally depend on how much ink I am picking up from the lid. See if I give it another little squeeze, get some more ink on there. It's going to make it even more dynamic and pop off the cardstock. And don't forget that little one up there. Okay, then with our water painter, we just want to go back and forth till it comes out clean, which is a little bit harder to see on this blue scrap paper I have, but I think I'm good. And then I'll pull in Rich Raspberry ink, give it that good squeeze, and get more water on here. I'm curious to know if you're watching live or watching the replay, tell me what you prefer to color with. Do you like the Stampin Blends? Do you like watercoloring with the ink like I'm doing now? Do you like watercolor pencils? Maybe you like our regular Stampin' Write markers or those chalk pastels that I've shown. Let me know what you like to color with. I'd love to hear. Just color a few of these flowers quick. Like I said, I'm doing a little bit of sloppy coloring, but it's okay. And then let's see what it does on Crumb Cake. We'll save that center part for some daffodil like we did with the Stampin' Blends. I think I may be coloring an extra flower than I did with the blends, but that's okay. Okay, and then, ooh, got a lot of ink on this one, so we need to get that out before I go to the daffodil for the centers. So you can see I'm just squeezing it and then swiping back and forth. You see the tip, it might be slightly discolored, but once you can tell that ink is out of there, then you're good to go to the next color. So we'll give this one a squeeze. Pick up some daffodil just a little bit for the centers. I kind of like this watercolor look on there too. I'm usually partial to blends just because I love the vibrant color, but I like the way this is looking as well. Okay, so let's set that aside and do a little side-by-side comparison. So this is watercolor off the top of the ink pad. This one is Stampin' Blends. And then this is watercolor, and this one is Stampin' Blends. So we're gonna have like 6 different options to choose from. So let's keep going here. So I've got one final side-by-side to do for you, and this time I'm going to use watercolor pencils. And so what I'm doing with this is I'm going to take the old olive and just scribble some color over the leaves. And then I'm going to go back, scribble, scribble. Let's see how it looks on the crumb cake. And then I'm gonna go back over these spots with my blender pen. So blender pens are dual-ended like that, so I just kind of take the side. I don't use directly on the tip, but I just kind of use the side of it and blend that watercolor pencil. Now you can also use a blender pen to pick up the ink off of the lid like I previously did with the water painter. I just find when I do that technique off the lid, I usually go to the water painter. It gives it a little bit more of a washed out look, but I love using the blender pen with watercolor pencils. And I'm just realizing I forgot to do that little tiny one up there. So we'll just scribble some pencil on that. There's one little surprise with watercolor pencils that I think is super fun. Same technique to clean the tip. You just kind of swipe it gently until you're done. I'll go back in with some raspberry. Again, just kind of scribbling. It feels weird to kind of be so sloppy when I'm coloring, but it'll do for today, right? Okay, and then let's go back in and blend. Again, I'm kind of using the side of the blender pen instead of directly on the tip. And then we'll do this one on Crumb Cake. I like the way the watercolor pencil is looking on Crumb Cake. Get that all blended, swipe it, and then come back with our daffodil in the center. So the ink pads, the Stampin Blends, the watercolor pencils, all the same three colors: Old Olive, Rich Raspberry, and Daffodil Delight. Okay, so here's something fun I want to show you with the watercolor pencils. I can take the white watercolor pencil, and I think it does some really cool things, especially on the Crumb Cake. Now, I'll maybe do it on the back here. If I scribble here on the white, you're not really seeing anything. If I scribble here on the Crumb Cake, you definitely can see it. So when we go back to the front here, I'm not going to use it on the white, but if I go back here and just kind of go over some of those lines that are part of the stamped image, just those detail lines here, I can highlight those with the white, and it just kind of brightens up that whole area. I can also, let me go over here where we didn't add any color yet and just kind of go over some of them too. I just think it's really fun to kind of play with different things. So you can see this has kind of been an experiment type video. I'm just showing you, some different ways to color and the comparison of coloring on white versus Crumb Cake. But I think it's fun just to kind of push yourself out of the box a little bit sometimes and play with something that maybe you haven't played with before. So let me pull that in so you can see. Just that white highlight is really dynamic on the Crumb Cake cardstock. So again, we've got our watercolor pencils. We've got ink off of the lid, and then we've got the Stampin Blends here. So I'll try to finish at least some of these and post some side-by-side samples so you can vote and let me know which look you like the best. The main point, though, is just to play. Get out your supplies, try some new things, see what different colors look like on different colors of cardstock, whether it's white, vanilla, or even Crumb Cake. So give it a shot. I'd love to see what you create. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.